in 20 folds to create that three-dimensional image. That the next time around, you try to do less. Paraphrasing there.
This is a good time for you guys to get water or coffee. Get your palettes ready before we go on to air art. So just get some things, but we won't just jump into it. So.
Talk about Amazon. I'm very excited about it. So, I mean, listen, nice. Water is very important. I also don't like all the just plastic bottles. You know what I mean? Carrying on plastic bottles all the dang time.
Yeah.
Just have one of these bad boys.
Do I get to take this home?
We were just talking about that.
Yes, sir.
I usually get a daily journal for the year, upcoming year. I haven't gotten one yet. But is this daily or is this just general?
That is for you.
It's just general
Exercise.
This is for your individual story. And we'll kind of talk more about it, but I would like to invite each of you that's here right here in this moment. I'd like to invite you and to challenge you to write yourself a little something every day, but there's 3 things that you're grateful for. If there's 3 people, 3 things you want to do, but just start talking to yourself every single day. I know that you're a writer. Hello, beautiful. You know.
Hey, what's up, you?
So we'll get into that, but these are good. So yeah, I want you to hang on to that. I got people just like that.
Okay,
so,
Malika, you want to slide over here? Is that cool?
Take this one around here. And I'll move this one. That way you
Oh,
don't have to do it
never
all
mind.
the time.
You gotta figure it out. You have to here.
Yeah.
Oh, you got them right there. That's cool. So we're writing. I think we're gonna journal to ourselves. Is that the exercise?
Yeah. So right now, and that's exactly now. But just get comfortable with it, but feel comfortable with it. You know, write yourself a little something. Write yourself a little love note in there. You know, like, hey, I'm looking good.
I was really just talking to him about this yesterday. He was like, "Can I tell you what you said?" He said, "I'm scared to journal." He's like, "I've been avoiding journaling because I'm scared of what I'm about to say." And I was like, "But I said, I told him I was like, you know, fear of a name is fear of the thing itself. You know, you got to be able to state what it is in order to get over not being scared of it." So he's triggered right now. He's triggered right now.
That's funny. I usually only journal when I'm angry, so this is kind of like. Oh.
Hey, girl. And Gabriel says hi to everybody.
Perplexed.
Gabriel, say hi to everybody.
I just have to spell.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hey.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, I'm going into my 3rd month of being absent from my journal. I do it during daily journal, so no matter how I felt, always.
Yeah, that's why I need to tap into.
My practice is she just said it. Yeah. Is 3 things that you're grateful for. You know, and just starting out the morning with I'm grateful to get awake, I'm grateful for the meal I had yesterday, I'm grateful, you know, whatever it is. That's at least a good starting point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I usually do present position.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, say again?
Present position. That's my present position.
And don't feel.
And then I go and try to make that mindful. What is my position today? It's different. You know, as on a daily basis.
We're all here.
They'll shift. But in order to really give it voice, you have to call it out.
mean, I would like to give this one to you. Second. The things are cool, okay?
You introduce yourself.
I'm gonna be around. Hi. Did I meet you? You came to the house?
I sure did.
Well, I forgot your name though.
Leek.
Lee?
Yeah, Leek. Leek. Yeah, the vegetable.
You never told me you liked the vegetable.
Oh, I started that.
Okay. I don't know you. Don. Don? Oh. Don, I remember. Oh, okay.
And my
Nice to
sister's
meet you.
name was Don.
Oh, and oh yeah, and his sister's name is Dawn. Oh, yeah. I don't meet too many Dawns.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
Yes, honey. Yes. Where's having a meeting, honey? You wanna listen to it? You have to be quiet if you do, okay?
She gave me a Gerald writing.
We're riding to ourselves for 7 minutes.
For 7 minutes?
Yeah. 7 minutes.
What was your name?
Oh, Bernard.
Oh my gosh. My sister's name was Dawn, my ex-husband's name, was Bernard.
I got resources.
That was good. Is everybody's getting right?
They're not working. Picture of them. But it's,
Over here.
see if they work, there's pencils too.
Someone have some wax on.
Oh, yeah, that wax is protective. Yeah.
You gotta really flick it off.
No, you have to like break it off. New pins stamp it.
Is it working, Lavera?
No. This is not going.
This isn't working either. That'll work.
Writing to myself for 7 minutes about what? What happened?
That's.
So.
That's the next challenge.
That's the objective.
So it really
Okay,
is not
nice.
specific, but
Nice.
I would like for you to be in the mind frame, that someone who didn't have the opportunity to have a last conversation with you, who was not able to be, just in a space that's close to your mind, close to your soul, purpose, close to your heart. This can be, these books are your own. So what is written down here does not need to be shared here. We may come back here in 5 years and we'll say, could you tell us what you wrote 5 years ago? Would you like to, would that character like to share with us? But really embodying who you are right now, everything you've been through, where you're going. And gratitude is a good place to start. I'm just grateful to be here. I'm just grateful to be with, human beings who are high vibrating. Yes, yeah. Exercise. Before we get officially on the board, we're going to start with an exercise called Read the Room. Okay, I'm going to read a statement, and if this resonates with you in any way, raise your hand, and we won't speak about it. We just get involved. Okay. And then we'll build up to a conversation that makes sense for all of us, that we're all feel like, bless you, that we're all here. And then a lot of it's gonna be you all talking. I'll just be in the background. I'll be guiding it. If we get kind of hung up on something to where something we touched on it and I don't know if we're gonna get anywhere with it right here, right now, but at least we brought it to the table. And then from there, we can look back on this footage and we can really look at ourselves and those around us and see what is it that we're looking to cultivate. Like, what are we aiming for? What are we really building for life? So, so this will begin the briefing. We're gonna start at 1:58.
Or
What's the name of that?
That is an ambient flute. It's an ambient flute.
Yeah,
The name
a native,
Native food music.
is.
thank you.
It's a great space to be where you're just, you know, when you think about where you're at when you're by yourself, it's not always this super like high strung energy. We're not always trying to be this personality or really trying to get the external world to resonate with who we are. So this is really bringing, again, some of the internal things that we go through with no one else. We're bringing that energy to the table, but it's a safe space so that we're able to build from that. So. Now, Mr. Terrence is going to act as the co-host for this, what I will call a social experience, not a social experiment, where we're trying to manipulate or to really just trying to fool with the outcome of what we will get from this. This is very much an experience that should feel very organic, even sitting amongst people who you maybe haven't journeyed with personally, people who don't necessarily look like you and who have no type of backstory that is at all related to what you've been through and even where you want to go. But again, we're here at this kind of 0 point, the moment before the moment, and just see what it can be. So, okay. And again, Mr. Terrence, he will act as a co-host and moderator just to kind of bring the balance of energy. So it's not, well, she wants to move on because she's divine feminine. We will have a divine masculine here who will make sure that it doesn't get too politics either way. So we know how we ladies can be. It is our world. Okay, but I truly know the importance of having a very strong union of both of those. So we can do a lot of things by ourselves, and we will branch off in the future. So with whoever this experience resonates with, if you like it's something that you want to do more of, this will break off into other subsectors. So we'll do women only. We may do a men only. We'll do the youth. But then the youth will be able to look to us and say, well, how do we get to we have this, everything's on the table. But how do we be able to have these conversations so that, again, that we are moving forward and we feel like we're really seen and we're really heard, so we're not just keep beating the same drum. We brought it to the table, and whatever your spiritual walk is, whatever your belief is, if you have a connection with the Most High, with the Creator, Source, Energy, the universe, God, however you want to look at it, you have a place of point origin to where it's just like, I saw me and I know other people saw me. And that's just where we're at with it. So we'll start here. This is going to be a read the room example. And I'm going to read a statement and raise your hand if it resonates with you. And again, if you even if you don't raise your hand, doesn't mean it doesn't. You may just need to process it. You may look back in 2 years from now and say, you know what, I think I probably would have raised my hand if I had to really know. So, okay. So any community where the emotional tensions are high and the spiritual, moral, or political intelligence is low is in danger of being easily manipulated, defeated, and fooled. Raise your hand if this resonates with your truth. Any community where the emotional tensions are high and the spiritual, moral, or political intelligence is low is in danger of being easily manipulated, defeated, and fooled. For those of you who are watching this at home, this question will be posted down below, and you all can feel free to leave a hand emoji in the comments if this resonates with your truth to align with more individuals who also align with your truth.
that's live, that's recording.
Huh?
That's live, that's recording.
Okay. when it's recorded, it'll go on YouTube, so it'll be live again. It'll be live again. So keep that in mind with your character. And again, if you have a moment you're like, I don't really want that to be there, contact me. We're all creating this. This is nobody's moment. This is our moment. So, okay, that's just an example. So what this experience really is again, this is a sharing our story. Your why keeps you tethered, and we are revisiting our why. We are revisiting for 2025 why we do what we say it is that we do, regardless of what it is that we do. The purpose of this experiment is to achieve cosmic alignment, to highlight modern leaders and creators, and to establish communal truths for future humanity. So your truth is very important in this because everyone's truth is not the same. The advice going into this experience is to protect your growth by maintaining an emotional firewall while also staying true to yourself, your story, and your own personal cosmic mission or purpose on this planet. Okay? I invite us all to speak and to create from a place of consciousness. That is what the invitation is. We're going to continue to ease into the conversation with a raise of the hands. Who has experienced post-success blues, which is where you have achieved a great goal, and after you achieve it, you're kind of in a funk and you're kind of playing this sad song? Who, during the year of 2024, we'll put it on this year, who has experienced post-success blues? I'll raise my own.
So you want to write this down?
This is an engagement, so you can raise your hand. If this resonates, raise your hand. Okay.
Post-success blues.
Okay. Because you've spoken on this, I would like to invite you to speak. What are your remedies for these kind of blues?
Well, first, the acknowledgement that there is a blues. And coming into a space mentally where I have to pat myself on the back for having some successes, which is kind of dangerous for me because it means that I'm counting my chickens. Even though I was successful, the reasons for the success don't always be apparent right off, and it has to be investigated. So the investigation part usually is like scary because then some of the flaws that I knew that existed that I was able to get by with, they start making themselves apparent. So now I have to find the strength in them to move on. So that's where the blues is. You know, finding flaws in your accomplishment and investigating it, because the success is it's kind of ethereal, but and it's always subjected to atmospheric conditions, but your personal esteem that you bring into it, it's not always filled with that rah, rah, rah. A lot of it has self-doubts. So you have to visit them again, re-examine. Am I still doubtful? Am I still into that negative phase? Did I make a breakthrough with these successes? And how can I use it as a foundational drive going forward? kind of use that as a foundational drive.
I love how you express that. I resonate deeply with that. And as we emerge into this, what we see is a new world because we are facing new conditions. There will be new leaders, and I speak about this very closely with those that I work with. And because there's new worlds, there's new challenges, there's new leaders, there's new followers too. People will reach for new people. They will want to hear your story. They will really want to know on an emotional and spiritual level, how did you get through that? Because you were going through a lot and you were still standing up. That is not in everyone's character to play that part. Again, I'm very, very grateful for what you shared here because moving forward, you have now helped future generations because you got to get yourself to that space. You really have to bring yourself there. Okay. We'll breathe in between this question. Take a breath. Okay. And moving forward, okay, we're going to be focusing on telling ourselves a new story. So how we get over those post-success blues, setting new goals, reflecting, and then celebrating. In this moment, we're in a moment of celebrating because as Mr. Bernard said here, sometimes you can get stuck in that rut to where you really are reflecting and to push through to still be able to celebrate. Like, okay, I reflected, I've done my criticisms, and now it really is time to celebrate myself because we know we only achieve our successes in that celebratory energy. We do not unlock the greatest versions of ourselves coming from a low vibrational place of beating the same sad drum that didn't get us where we wanted to go. So I'm going to start at the head of the table. I'm actually going to start here with you, Mr. Diamond, and I'm going to bring it full circle. Terrence, you'll kind of act to clear out the energy as we go into a new question. So we'll just move around the table. If you don't feel like you have an answer to this, just say, I'm not ready for it. Even I don't want to answer it. This is not a forced conversation. So Mr. Diamond, I would like to ask you, invite you to share with us, how did your character grow or heal this year?
I really don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
I don't
That's
really know.
okay. That's okay. Okay. It's a journey. You have to sometimes really have to look and see that I'm willing to grow in this area and I'm willing to be in a space where I see I need to really heal that or I need to grow in that area. Miss Jackie, would you like to comment on this? Miss Dawn?
I haven't.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't
Yes, ma'am.
separated, so.
Yes, ma'am. Reflect on that and let us celebrate that. There's a reason. Okay. Reflect on here. You're reflecting, Sage. Mr. Bernard.
Oh, about
How did
Growth
your character grow or heal?
individually over the past year.
It can be
Also-
individual or collective. You can just say, hey, this year I've told myself I was going to add to my personal collection where I have 4 things and now I have 8. It doesn't have to be so huge, but it must be celebrated.
Well, I always pride myself on recognizing my growth, and I try to allow for it often because I don't have any other way of keeping my drive going. So if I can recognize recent growth, it just revs up my engine. So I keep abreast of that, and I do it regularly.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of time it's just it's not emotional. It's awareness. You know, being aware of what's going on around me, being aware of my interaction with people. That's my biggest challenge as an individual has been interacting. So that's how I recognize my growth, how my latest interaction.
That sounds good. For those of you who are watching at home, take a moment to really breathe and reflect on this moment, because sometimes your character is called upon and you do not have the answer, and you want to be very aware that you do not put yourself into an energy of feeling like you're lacking growth, or that there has been no progression at all just because you do not readily realize it. So for those of you who are watching this at home, I hope that you all have your journal with you. And again, let this serve as a real life organic experience to where you do not have to have all the answers to show up for yourself. Okay, you don't have to have that. So, okay, let's keep the question going around the table.
And so how much have I grown over the year?
The question was, how did your character grow or heal this year? Did you grow
My
anything?
character went down.
Yes, ma'am.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm not working out.
Mm.
Oh,
And I really thrive in that. So I've been slow. I was hurt. I wasn't really hurt, but I couldn't like lift my leg for a little while. So I had to just kind of heal myself. So I was really proud over the half. I was already doing really good in all my exercising. And my exercising fell off. And I've been hibernating now. So I want to go back into it. So I'm having to look forward to anything that's good. Because it's all about inside. I don't have any outside stimulus.
just but you reach for those. I received that. It's very impactful.
I don't see anything that's out there. So I basically just only concentrate on me,
Mm.
which is totally selfish, but I've been here all this time. It's
And remind yourself, I will recommend that a good thing, I've been in that mind frame. A good thing that you can, one thing that has helped me from being in a very similar spot is that I've gotten there to where it's like, this is a down moment for me. And not only is this a down moment for me, there are walls on both sides. And one thing that I have spoken over myself is that good things are coming to me naturally. That even me here,
Well,
back
they
in this
do
corner.
if you just stay positive.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's how I got better, but then I started getting weak again. So it's just been a body year for me.
It's so powerful.
That's what I've been basing my strength on, the energy that comes.
All the work you've done is shining through, and I would just let you know this, okay? You all cannot see Retail's a very beautiful woman right here, okay? The work is paid off.
Oh, thank
okay? Ms. Leek, I'd like to invite you to answer this question if you feel comfortable and ready.
Yeah, can you repeat the question again?
Yes. How did your character grow or heal this year?
I think I did a lot of growing this year. Because I always see myself as always needing tools in my belt and not really seeing that I am a tool. I guess I am the tool belt. One of the rappers I'm still working on, but it's just kind of like, I don't really need much. I just need to just be visible with what I have. And so that's kind of like what I've been doing, like unconsciously since I've been in the desert, to be honest. And so yeah, and so I remember I was talking to Terrence and Rita about that, like in the middle of the year, and then I didn't realize that I wasn't really actively putting it down, I guess, in documentation, but I was really doing it, even if I wasn't thinking about it. So, yeah, so I really did the word visibility this year. So, yeah,
That's so wonderful. And again, everyone here, this is a celebratory moment. This is the victor scene, okay? Because we are crystallizing ourselves in this moment. Mr. Terrence, I would like to invite you to answer this question to close out.
Sure.
Okay. Let me ask it again. How did your character grow or heal this year?
So I wrote a little bit on social media, so I'll read that and I'll offer some contextualization. I said, wrapping up 2024 comes in the form of considering my theme word, collaboration, its rhetoric, and the concrete and abstract choices which made themselves available over the course of the year. Similarly to that one Jim Carrey movie where he has to say yes to everything, 2024 brought me chance opportunities to make new friends, revisit old patterns, and realign concepts associated with delusion, reality, and owning up to wants and needs. Lone wolfing it and marching to the beat of my own drum have offered too many lessons regarding speed and lack of accountability. This mostly made itself clear during moments of duress related to acceptance and rejection. On the flip side, working with others this year has proven not everyone gets to kick it. Looking towards 2025, my year of culture is making its path clear as I consider what it means to cultivate a community within oneself, which commands the best versions of others. And so, in terms of my character and going to growth and healing, the growth has come in the form of seeking to expand myself, just what it means to be in community with other people. I'm typically, whether it's like shyness or someone I just don't give a F, I kind of like to do my own thing, and I chose to, last year my word was capacity. And so I learned that on my own, I can't do a lot. I can go real fast, but sometimes I'm spinning in circles. And I decided to expand and challenge myself to collaborate more with others, which there's a certain humility associated with that, because then you really have to listen and respect other people's ideas and their leadership. And I think that the broader lesson for me, or how my character has grown, is learning how to trust others, and then also deeper conversations on learning how to trust myself and my own instincts. And that, because on the flip side, like, you know, um, sometimes lone wolfing it is like a thing that you need. Sometimes you just got to do it dolo. There's only paths that you can walk on your own. And as much as you maybe want to invite other people with you, either they don't get it, they don't want to get it, and you're spending all that energy trying to drag people along, And so some of that for me is like the delusion of, like sometimes people just reject you, and it's not for you to like try to convince them to come along with you. Uh, but that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, because then I recognize like how that has shown up like in family and relationships. And so, my culture year is really about, and I actually think it's similar to Lavera in that, like I like to write, and that's how I get the internal monologue out. But so much of my expression is in the physical, working out, being active, because that allows me to meditate on what it is I don't want to write about. And if I want to include people, and that's maybe what I'm looking at next year, working out with people, going camping, doing adventure sort of stuff, right? But I like to express myself using my body, and there have been some challenges this year that I probably could have been more creative in order to solve, because routine and consistency become things that we have to revisit over time.
A lot of growth there. It's a lot of growth. Just to sit back and reflect on all that, you're like, wow. I gotta realize, I have to internalize all of this. Okay, for those of you at home, if we're moving on to the next questions, carry on. Such beautiful energy, very vulnerable energy at this table. And we do know as humanity, vulnerability is our greatest currency. The ability to be able to be transparent with people. And so again, we want these things. We want collaboration. We're calling for community. We're calling for unity. But a lot of us, we've taken swords to the back. A lot of us have been jabbed at the side, and we're not sure how can we walk closely together with people, and we can build this new idea of community, of helping one another, making sure there's no man left out, no gal left out. So very beautiful energy.
Can I tag on to
Yes,
what you're saying?
yes, ma'am.
Being rejected, misunderstood, it's a hard thing to deal with when you don't know where it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts you in a place of muddleness.
Mm-hmm.
You just sit there and wonder so hard on why it's happening to you. It makes you sad, so it drags you down. So I can understand that.
And we only can imagine what the youth are dealing with. While they're so close to one another. And a lot of people are in their phone and they're doing things that are just solely external. But then when you're not receiving that external validation, that can be a very challenging situation to find yourself. And you're like, well, I know it's good and I would love for you to come with me. And people are just like, no. And this is why you should come over here. You're like, yeah, but I'm going there and there, so but it is energy though. And again, it's something that we're having this awareness of that it shapes us. It's something about it. Well, oh, that doesn't matter. Oh, somebody told you no, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, somebody acted like you didn't exist. Somebody tried to erase you. That's one thing that we will touch on a lot at this table is one core part of this project is making sure that we do not erase other human beings, which the human species has gotten into the nature of doing, which leads me to our very next question. I'm going to start back.
Can I
Sure.
add on to that? This is a suggestion in terms of handling rejection. As a creative, I had to confront that quite a bit. One of the things that have helped me to move beyond that is self-validation. I find ways to validate myself as often as possible and eliminate all the criticism and the rejection. Don't even give them credence, but find ways to self-validate.
Mhm.
And so that means you have to like what you do, you have to like who you are, you have to like what you say, you have to think it being meaningful and magnanimous, and just especially having a future. Whatever that you do is a future to it. But that came to me from being creative, from doing art, and my art being rejected. So eventually it came back around to me personally. But that's all I
Those are nuggets of truth. We are going to take a very brief break here. This is an experience and we're not going to force ourselves into it. So we are going to take 5 minutes. You can get up and get water. You can stay seated here. This part will be edited out in the video. So feel free to stretch, and we are going to come back and we're going to talk about some interdimensional affairs. We are going to talk about some things that's going up in our skies and how we identify with some of those things that are happening too. So we're going to break for 5 minutes and we're going to introduce 2 new individuals to the community. Okay. 5-minute break. We'll come back up 2:30.
Clearing that. I like clearing bills. Bernard, come check out the book, man.
The book.
So this is the mind map.
Oh, okay.
This is the mind map. And I sent you the treatment document.
So this is the bound. We are ready for this. Okay.
So you got, I mean, this is a treatment, I just needed to get out of my head. I'm not an artist, you know what I'm saying? I told you that. But there's broadly
No denial. I will not entertain any
so I've got
denials.
4 sections broadly, right?
Like I was telling her, self-validation.
Hey, well, I need the words and then I can tell y'all what to paint. You feel me? That's how I do it. But
Okay.
So 4 sections, right? But these are the 2 core main sections. And now I'm thinking about, I got to define what that is. But then these are the 2 smaller subsections kind of, right? And that then breaks down into the main concept.
Go back to that.
Uh-huh.
That's gonna be your common core.
Honey, I was just making sure you were still there.
Mm-hmm. And that's what but I started doing all this. And so, but then it's like, all right, because then I got the information architecture, right?
Yeah.
Section 1 is only 3, but then the 2 core sections are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 each, right? And then what I'm realizing is that the journal and the business or the resources section, which includes my writer's journal, my inspiration, relevant, all that sort of stuff, right? And then this is where Kenneth has helped me a lot because then you've got the mind mapping, right? The grouping of the different modules and sub-modules, you feel me? That then come into, and this is what I'm trying to tell you where I see the origami. Because then you got the matrices, you feel me? And so then it's like, I know that the summary of the book is ideally 300 pages, right? And I'm targeting 75,000 words. Well, then we have the ratios that then, what's up, brother? Make themselves available on a subsection level, right? And then I also recognize that a certain ratio is going to include visual and image, communications, right? And then breaking it down to the individual, like
A really strange way to go about together.
but I got everything.
Okay, all right.
It's like Tetris, man. You know what I'm saying? Like boom, boom.
Can't carry on. I don't want to distract you.
Because then you got the submodules, right, and then the core concepts of the individual sections that you just got done describing, and then
Common core.
common core. Okay, common core.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's what's common to all of its mixtures.
Because then these are the essays, and this is not a complete one. So how I went and did it was I started at the end of the story to then get to the last word of the last page of the last chapter, right? That thematic. And this is probably the most complete essay of the around 30 or so essays that have made themselves available. You feel me?
Okay, you can get your numbers like that.
No.
Because it comes down to pages, man. Because then it's the schedule. How many pages can I get done? I got until tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And then I got to hand it off. You feel me? And she's gonna do what she's gonna do.
So it's like a question and answers.
It wasn't like that back in the day.
No.
Oh, there's so many words.
And it just all comes together, man. It's like building a house.
Okay.
These are bricks, bro.
Okay, my next question for you is
For like 3 months.
visualization.
Yeah.
Like, I just wouldn't want to do it again.
Yeah.
What's the animal?
So that's what I'm. Because then, to your whole point, sometimes I gotta walk away from this,
What's the animal?
and I gotta see. I think it's either it's probably in the bear family. It might be. I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
But see, once you get the
Okay.
animal,
Yeah.
your preparations become.
I work.
Dang. He said, "What's the animal?" I don't know yet. I'm still trying to. Dang. Yeah. So the ones that what's really important to me are, and I think this is I don't know if it's my family animal or it's mine, but the orca whale.
Yeah, just
Orca whales, man. In addition to having these really dynamic families, they have been able to discover that orca whales, based off of the region, have their own dialect of communication.
And they're immense longevity.
Oh my God.
I'm one of the second
Brother.
ones, so.
So you can have a group from Norway pulling up on the one from Mexico, and they're like, I don't know what you're trying to, I can't understand your accent, dog. But to your whole point, they pass down, they have hunting techniques that get passed down from pops. There was a whole group of orca whales that all they used to do was attack sharks. And you know what they used to do? They would come up on, they would have, I think it was, they would have one group come up underneath the shark, and then some that would ram it on the side, that would then make it immobile, they would flip over. Great white sharks were running scared from orca whales, and this was only observed in one community in I think it was Australia. So I think it's the orca.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
He's been dropping around the states with me.
Okay.
Speak on it. I want to hear.
Yeah, it's not that fun. It's not that fun at all.
Well, you have an organizational way that your mind works. And my work is not organizational, it's very intuitive. So, but I've been thinking about my book and what's been holding me back is just to sit down and let it out into
I was thinking about that yesterday. I said, oh my gosh, I hope their poetry is
Mr. Can I get you to go a
Really?
little bit
Tapping
ahead,
into
Mr. Terrence and Miss Jackie? I'm
subconscious,
just gonna shift you
and
out a
just
little
let
bit.
it
We
go.
have 2 more people joining us for
You
this
know,
part.
but
Okay.
I don't know,
I guess we're
Just
sliding
like-
down.
finding the time, it's not even the energy, it's finding the time to sit down and just focus. That's how I came to I'm a street
We'll put
painter.
the chair over there. I like.
I set up my stuff and I start painting, I don't stop till I have something
So
to
we'll
say,
put
even
somebody-
if they take me.
Well, see, and that's the thing.
And pieces.
So my first piece of integrity as a writer is, what is it that I'm trying to say? And the additional layer is, am I the person to say it, or should I be elevating somebody else's work? Right, and being able to re-communicate and repurpose that for who I'm trying to say it to, right? Because that then comes in a form of, am I adding to the conversation, or am I taking away from the conversation? You know, and that's something that I'm very mindful of. And that's my respect for the words. I believe that a lot of people don't respect words enough to shut the hell up.
So, yes,
Yeah.
but the way you approach it here,
You
segmented
all we kind of
organizational.
split up. Miss Chris is gonna go here, Miss Alvira.
It-
Alvira.
It has
Love
for
Byra.
sure.
That's okay, that's okay. I can follow mine.
Completion.
Yeah, so we'll, Miss Chris and
And
Miss
yeah,
Amy, you all will
with it.
share a journal from now. I'm 1 journal short.
Okay.
So, that's okay though.
Construction.
And
Yes.
that's just your gratitude journal. So
The
that you all
constraints that
know,
I've
so
created.
That's the only way
And-
you all be together anyway.
I'm elevating my old essays.
so yes.
And that's what I'm
Gratitude, what we started
challenging.
off with was
You
a
just been
very
working on
quick
it?
meditation, but we just wrote down 3 things we're grateful
We'll
for.
talk.
Just to get us going, just to get us flowing. Mr. Cheese will use the restroom and then we'll get reset. So second energy, just to do a little bit of a recap where we are. So everyone, this is Mr. Damon and this is Miss Chris. They own a food chain that's up in operation, okay? Because it's so much bigger than just what they do on Saturdays, but they work within our community to help to keep us nourished, and they do a lot more than that. So we'll do more introductions, but being in the space is a little hot in this room. I'll see if we can't crack the door maybe. Yeah. We ain't got no kittens in here. Ain't no kittens in here. Anybody think I have kittens and they're always trying to run? Trying to eat. Yeah, where are you gonna go? Okay.
Somewhere where they just wanna do something.
They just wanna do something.
Yeah, crazy. Even if it kills them.
It's. It's let me out.
You have a food at Porter?
So we just sell the Caribbean food, Jamaican cuisine. I sell your
Oh, yeah, it's in farmer's market. It's kind of wild, so I make
But that's just like once a week.
I'm fine, because I was expanding also.
Yeah, we work at the outside.
Oh, okay.
It smells good.
I know.
Yeah,
It smells good.
Yeah.
Anybody want coffee?
They're out of it. Oh, that's.
Coffee?
Yeah, they always
Yesterday,
actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I imagine it's good.
That's,
Okay, is it
I
one
just
cup?
put a sea moss lot.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
okay.
Okay.
He-
She's gonna get some water.
It was a straight up.
We will get home.
Cured. Oh, you want I
Huh?
got French rolls, I got salted caramel.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll start.
Yeah.
But while we're here, is there anything on anybody's mind anybody wants to touch on going straight into our next opening up? Is anywhere we want to start right there and just touch on it and just let it trickle down? Mr. Bowden, you look like you may. Don't let them fool you. Okay.
85% of my process is research. You know, And that's what I think what I was telling you the other day, the challenge that I've had with the computer is that it's so efficient that it's then removed in some ways the human element of the conducting of research, observational interviews, you know,
Did it,
and
you get it
then
right?
10% editing.
None of them approach this, right?
Cut off the back
Oh,
and try to get to the essence.
So that gets you, maybe they were revenue.
Right?
Oh,
You
you
want
want-
to next to.
Well, I actually had, I started red.
The-
You wanna try them?
and see themselves as the hero.
These are, oh, maybe
That's
those
the
are mine.
additional
That was
Right.
those.
impression, the points to.
Yeah, yeah, right. That may be 100 years old.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Right. 100 years old.
Yeah.
I had one of the bags for
Oh, man, man.
7 years.
It's mad, man. And so the overlap then of those two provide my point of view, so that I then, because then the visual images and creation and my other, that becomes way easier. And then it's also all a matter of connecting the 5%, because the words that become the way that I would say. Yeah, I'm making this problem. Oh, that's.
Yeah.
Oh, I got some, I don't have no sugar, but I got these. From vanilla.
I don't even wanna read one.
Okay.
That's enough.
I brought sugar.
That's all important.
Please either make a run-on sentence or too short.
Okay.
I
always gotta keep
so-
some.
Yo. Oh. No, but I.
You like what you wrote?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm like, I always tell jokes. Yeah, I used to be this trouble. I used to be so crazy and stupid.
Really? You don't see?
Yeah, I'm mature.
So you're like, garage.
Is that what it? No,
It's not what you see.
I know, why?
Well, one time, this is the worst thing I ever did, and I got in the biggest trouble I ever got in.
Nature.
I jumped up on the table in home ec, and I just started doing a comedy routine. And I'm like,
Oh my, you stood up on the table.
and told jokes in the.
Was the
home
teacher
ec.
in there?
Yeah, everybody was in there. And she kept telling me to get down. I said, I'll get down. I stopped telling my, but I haven't said my last. Because I'm just bored in here. We're not doing anything. We're just studying and stuff. Everybody was really laughing. I just started criticizing the class on top of the table, including the teacher. I just had it up to here with that class. Huh?
So it was a roasting session.
Yeah. So the class and the teacher. Yes.
Everybody's.
Yes, exactly. That was fun. So the next thing I knew, I was in the retarded class.
What?
Oh my God. So I was like, oh
You know, I think back then they did separate people like that.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I
they
don't know what to do with them.
retarded class. I'm like, okay, she's nuts.
Luckily, we have better tools now. Yeah.
So I got in that class. Well, they made me prove myself out.
Yeah.
I just decided I can't do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna state my case.
Yeah.
So I stated my case. And they go, oh, okay. And they let me out.
They just thought you lost it.
Yeah.
That does make sense though.
I
I
stated
mean,
my
not
case.
many
I said,
kids.
you know, everything that she has us to cook is really not really hard. You don't understand. Most of the kids in the class already are cooks and have been cooking for a while, okay? And they're going back to square one with oatmeal. I mean, like, you guys, you know,
No, there's a lot of people who can't cook oatmeal.
yeah, okay. That's why you have to separate the class, and not everybody has to make oatmeal, okay? Yeah, but they had the class, everybody had to make oatmeal, and oatmeal we had to make. So stupid, and I'm like, we're cooking, you know, we're like cooking. I mean, we're like frying eggs already, we're boiling eggs, we're making egg sandwiches, I've been making egg sandwiches for since I was 7,
Okay.
because if I don't cook, I don't get nothing to eat.
Okay, I hear you, I hear you,
So,
I hear you, I hear you.
So we all had to learn how to cook, so we
Like,
could
I want to
eat.
respect
So
her.
we all, if somebody knew how to cook
Sorry.
something, we could teach the other one, so they could survive.
Oh my
Sorry.
God. That
Chat
guy's
my cat.
serious.
Yeah.
So I was going to teach something like making oatmeal.
So what?
No, she
Long
is.
story.
Derek. You guys are.
Every time me and her chat, I'm like, I love her a little bit more. We got a good one today. You know what I'm saying? We have a good one today.
I told her she was mirage, she is not what you think she is.
Yeah.
Believe that. Miss Malik, we're gonna start at this end of the table. This is gonna be another prompted question. We're probably gonna do 2 or 3 more just so that you all can get back to your freedom and enjoying your day of sun. And then we'll open up the floor too so that some very casual conversations can unfold and then we can review it and we can see what we want to touch back in on. So we're gonna come into this one for a community issue that I've had the opportunity to encounter, and so also I'm dealing with individuals who are journeying through this. So we are going to touch on homelessness, okay? And we're gonna start with you, Miss Malika, Miss Lee. This is a multiple choice question with the space to elaborate on it. So there's 3 choices. So do you view homelessness as a personal, familial, or communal matter, or something else as the cause, or not even the cause, but the human failure syndrome? Is that a personal matter? Is it a familiar matter where it comes down to the integrity of the family? Or is it something that we are doing as a community, as a society, with the things that we have collectively going on? How do you view that, being who you are? How do you view homelessness?
I didn't really sit back and really think about it. But I do know I have some experience with like family members and like not I guess the intermediate ones, but like uncles and cousins and whatnot. And so it was just kind of always in my surroundings, especially back at home. But I guess being a little bit more mindful on it, I think these last probably a couple of years I've been a little bit more like paying attention. Especially out here, it's pretty visible. It's like that's one thing you kind of see. You can get blinded by the buildings like back at home, but like when you just see somebody just like chilling in the sand, it's totally different. But like I had another point, but it was like the second part of the question.
Sure.
It was,
So too hot.
it was a bit warm. So, do you view homelessness as a personal, familial, or communal matter? The human failure syndrome.
yes, because when I see something like reference from home, like I'm from Chicago, so when I see like them giving money towards the policeman and not really working on towards the mental health aspect of it, because at least the homelessness I see at home, it was referenced towards like mental health, like it was less of like them needing a building and more of like let's work on their mental state. So I don't know. I definitely the failure of humanity.
Collective issue.
Communal
issue.
Yes.
Communal.
Yes. So
Okay. Love your Miss Williams.
I'm with her, the mental health is, if you're homeless for a moment, everybody kind of is or has been. Like I've been homeless several times, but I'm like able to sort of go home if I wanted to, but I chose to be home because I felt like I should probably just not go. So I just was out there sleeping in my car, sleeping over people's houses and stuff like that. So then my cousin said, "You shouldn't do that. You should just come stay with me." So I was still in school and I had a job, but I couldn't afford.
You technically were homeless. You technically were without a home, technically. Even though you were still thriving. You were still doing many wonderful things.
Well, yeah, I was still working and going to school, but I just lived around that. I lived with a cousin, I lived with an aunt, and I just moved around. I tried to everybody I live with, I try to contribute to the, appreciate where I am and try to pay or cook or clean or whatever. Because that's just enough to give them respect. So I would think that when somebody is, there's a difference between being homeless and have a mental state and a plan, and a person that is just homeless because they have no no support on a major basis, because it's really hard to control people that are mentally ill. It's very hard, and you give them a choice, and of course, they're gonna choose what's bad for them. So until we get to the point where we help people who don't want any help, and they don't have rights unless they can prove they don't have the rights, because they don't have to prove anything except for they don't want it. It's all negative. I don't want it, I'm not doing
They're
it.
not ready to heal or to grow yet. They're
Right.
not there yet.
And some people, it might take a lifetime of being out there homeless before they'll realize, oh, dang, I think I need a house now, or a place to live. You know, it shouldn't have to take that long. There should be some kind of plan psychologically to help people understand that they need to work toward their habitat.
Thank you for sharing that with us from a very personal place of experience.
And I want to tap in before you go to the next person. I really like that you shared like your story, because I didn't realize that is kind of a level of homelessness, and I guess I thought of something I had to be in a really bad situation because I did this exact same thing.
Yeah, that's
That's
a community
Yeah.
supporting us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was not necessarily without a home, but like I just didn't have my own home. But
Yes, exactly. And you don't want to
Yeah.
go back to your parents, because
Yep.
actually my house had moved on to just my being there would be an issue. There was just, they weren't gonna they would make people move out and change for me to fit me in there. Well, I didn't want to put that in position on my parents.
So you chose to rely on the strength that you found within the community.
Yes.
You chose to be able to use your,
Yes.
you chose to be able to see it like that.
Yeah, and there is a community that is really important to have.
It is.
Communal support, yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully stated. Miss Chris, do you view homelessness as a personal, familial, or communal matter?
I view it as all of the above. It can be on a personal level if they're able to take advantage of certain tools, or you're in a place where you're homeless and it's on you. It could also be familial. A lot of people are displaced because they have family members who are parents gone. And then to my sister, my mom passed away 3 years ago. Her fiance passed away earlier this year. So my sister was basically left without a home. So she was homeless until very recently. And it's definitely, I think we're like as a society, we try to combat homelessness. I feel like a lot of people really aren't getting those tools of that. We just feel like we don't even have shelters here. So, I think that we should definitely tap in and pull resources to help homelessness, especially that, like you said, it's kind of rampant out here, and it's hard to ignore it when it's in your face like that. So, this it's good. It's a good topic because it's something about here.
It's very good to hear the different, just in this moment, the three feminine energies on this matter, which is very much so from a place of compassion and really feeling like we should exert energies to be able to create those safe communal places so we can be able to deal with those challenges collectively. So I love where that energy is. That's lovely. Mr. Bernard, when you touching on this topic, how do you view homelessness? Personally?
It's all of those, but it also depends on the individual's perception how they belong in the society, or how they belong in a familiar family structure. As we were talking about, looking at habitat. You know, sometimes somebody's perception of what their habitat is may not include four walls and a ceiling and a roof. It could be a little enclave between two rocks on the beach, you know, and but it's the mindset that goes into that. How much control that they have over their mindset, and that's when you have the mental illness that has to be accounted for. Personally, I was homeless for a few months, and I was between two rocks on the beach, so I was able to reference that. But that was my little habitat, and that's where I would stuff my belongings during the day, and I would circulate to be out and about. But it was a good existence. But my mindset was very healthy, and I understood what my position was, and it was a chosen position. And at any minute when I was ready to make a difference or change it, I had the capacity to move on. Whereas that's the difference between the mentally ill. They never come to that break where they can consciously say, okay, I need to change it. How can they break it down for the change? You know, or they just accept the day-to-day grind of what they develop in that habitual state. So a lot of the homeless people that I've been able to interact with, a lot of it has to really do with them coming to a mindset where they feel they can change their position. A lot of them, they never get to that. They become habitual where they come to accept that place. But the underlying thing about all of this is being free. As human beings, we have that underlying aspect of needing to be free. Not to, it doesn't matter where we're free at, is that we're free.
I love that. We're going to shoot this back to those of you all who are tuning in to us live. This is a pre-recorded session that we have here. And for those of you who are watching this at home, on your phone, without a home, we are here and we are having these conversations for our community as a collective. So if you are at home watching this and you are currently going through, surviving, facing homelessness, or facing being in a space of vulnerability, feel free to comment in the comments below. And someone from our team, we are here operating as Portal CCXXII, will reach out to you and we will do our best to connect you with resources, people, and opportunities in your area. We are here, and even though your voice may feel silenced and it may seem like your story does not matter, just know, keep going, because we are sitting at a table of individuals who have faced the same things, some things that are not similar. Every story is unique, but our stories are being told. So let this be a opportunity for you to be able to see that it's not all over, even if you lose your home or all of your physical possessions. We're going to come back into this question. We're going to start with Miss Dawn. Miss Dawn, how do you view homelessness? Do you view it as a personal, a familial, a communal matter, or something else?
All of the above. I think that the homeless people are disrespected, lonely, dangerous, sad, depressed. There could be somebody in this room that's homeless and you would never know because they try to hold on to their respect. There was a child who 3 years was homeless, living on the street, like he said, between two rocks. She found a way to keep clean, to go to school, and it took her 3 years to get up to have a hovel. You know what the word hovel means. It means a little piece of land where she could just hide her stuff with boxes. Their possessions become everything to them. And it looks like nothing, but it's there, what they have. They can get cans and think that's something special. When you look at them, like they don't belong. And they can tell. And it's kind of hard to pass by when you really can't do nothing for them. But sometimes just a hi. Even if they don't speak back, every time you ask them, you should just speak. Because homelessness is one of the saddest things, and we have nothing out here. We have a group of kids, the middle group of people that have nothing, that nobody's doing anything for. They're doing something for the younger ones, and they're doing something for the older ones, but that middle group is lost. And it's really sad that we have all this land out here. And nothing is being done. We have empty buildings. Nothing is being done.
We're having a conversation. We have said that we have turned a blind eye to humanity's matters for a long time. We're only as strong as our weakest link in our chain. So, thank you for sharing that with us. And for those of you watching at home, this is a real moment. This is a very raw moment. The truth is, in certain environments, the issues will peak and it will be quite alarming, and people won't know where to start. They'll either go in their houses and act like it doesn't exist, which I think a lot of us have done that for a while, lived in LA for a very long time, and dealt with homelessness firsthand. I've personally dealt with homelessness myself, moving from the Midwest and not having strong ties and sleeping in cars and being in a homeless shelter for 40 days and really not knowing who I am when no one wants to call you. So I'm very familiar with that energy, and coming out of it and being triumphant so that people can say, wow, you were homeless, someone didn't want to be connected with you, someone thought that you didn't deserve a place to feel safe, because you're homeless where you feel safe and nurtured in. So again, to those of you, this is very much so on my heart, for those of you who are at home, you are experiencing homelessness, you are not alone. Okay, chime in. Mr. Damon.
So for me, I would say all of the above for different reasons. So prior to me joining the military and coming out to California, and out to Pittsburgh, I was quote unquote homeless, where I had a car. I lived in the car for 6 months. But for me, I didn't feel homeless because I had a purpose, right? So it was more of me still getting up, going to work, seeing my kids, seeing my daughter, spending time with her, being active in my community. I didn't feel like I was displaced in being homeless. Now, outside of that, me exiting the military, I still have a home. I have a roof over my head, a bed to sleep in. I didn't have a purpose. And I felt somewhat homeless because I wasn't used to not getting up and I had nothing to do. And me being out here, like just doing farmers market, I talk to the homeless people, I feed them. And sometimes I talk to them afterwards and I ask them, like, why? I don't ask them, why are you in the situation? But I ask them, how do you feel about it? Like, what's your mindset throughout the day while you're out here? And everything is they feel like they have nothing to offer. So their homelessness is not more so I don't have the info over my head, I don't have resources, I don't have a purpose to add to the community or add value to my surroundings. Because I mean, you have a lot of people who live on the street, but they're very happy because they're not conducting themselves to the social norms of what it is to be stable and have a home. For us, we see it as homeless because you don't have what I have. You can't get up every day, take a shower, brush your teeth, eat food. You want to sit down and watch TV. But to them, that's a source of freedom to them because they don't have to pay for the bills, electricity. They don't have all the burdens on their free from that. And we don't see it that way because we were conducted to see that you need to have these to be happy and these to feel at home. But at home, they're just being comfortable within themselves. Now, a lot of us lost that.
You said something very important about the need to contribute.
Yeah. Like there's a lady here, not to cut you off, but there's a lady here who comes to the market every weekend. She don't really ask for money, nothing like that. She collects cans
Yeah.
or recyclable just so she can eat. And she really don't want nothing else, but just giving her food makes her happy. And she'll go to East saying, hey, can I get your recyclables? Can I get your throwaway so I can get me money for a room tonight? She wants to earn her keep. And that's her value to herself.
And the need to contribute, that's an emotional driven feel. But if you're not mentally straight, that becomes a burden because you don't understand what it takes to contribute. And when you start to contribute, you're kind of lost in terms of the level of what you can contribute or the acceptance of the contribution that you make. So it's all convoluted, but it takes a level of concern from every individual that comes across that state to understand all those ramifications that's going on with an individual and try to give them an allowance of space to express, because to come forward and say, oh, you're homeless, that there's a stigma. You don't know how you're taking that stigma or how you're looking at it. But if the concern is, so what do you want to do, or where you come from, or what are you doing now? In terms of those kind of questions, where they become engaged in your present position that you're in, is something that we're totally always concerned.
And act as leaders in that too, because again, the clarity is very, very important, that you see yourself clearly, that you see your value clearly, so you can know how to step moving forward, so you're not just stuck in the same repetitive cycle, whether it's losing things or people stealing things from you, because that's it's a very vulnerable lifestyle to be in. There is freedom in it. I'm all for the freedom of releasing everything, but then people will see that that's so free, people will feel like they need to kind of attack that character if you're not a part of a community, if you're not integrated into that community.
And we live in a society where freedom is really a dangerous position for letting people to be in. Society can't afford to have people feeling free or being free. They feel that they have some kind of method or resemblance of control. And we also have to come to grips with that. And sometimes in terms of our personal feelings is, do we become envious of somebody's freedom? Because that's also a human condition, being envious of somebody else's being free. And sometimes denying help to that person because they're too free is another thing that keeps them in the position that they're in.
No ID card, no this, no, that's very true.
I think that's a lot of reasons why most of them don't want help, is because like, in order for me to accept what you're giving me, I gotta give something up to accept it. Right. And they don't want to give up what they have personally, just something that you're basically forcing on them. You're telling me, hey, I have to get this medical because you think I need it. Or not even saying that in a bad way, but when you force them on somebody, it's like, why do I want it? What do you want from me?
Mrs. Jackie, would you like to elaborate on this topic of how do you view homelessness?
Well, we live in Washington, really bad. Nothing like this, it's not. Okay. It was pretty difficult. They came in groups, single, all groups. Like tents on the sidewalk, underneath bridges, everything's really out.
Mr. Diamond.
It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart.
Yes, sir.
50 years ago, I was homeless. I lived out of a refrigerator box. Whoa. Yeah. I did that for almost 2 years. And I remember, well, look, there's a quarter. I was suddenly wealthy. Now, and a lot of what he's been saying about freedom, I can relate to that. You know, I didn't have any bills, but then again, I couldn't eat whenever I wanted to. I couldn't take a shower whenever I wanted to. And I always wondered what was in the box when I got back to my quote unquote home. And just like my wife said, in the 50 years since then, I've seen homelessness in San Diego. I was stationed in the Navy, so wherever I went, there were always big cities. And in Washington, you could drive down the freeway with anywhere there was a green space, it was covered in tents. I don't mean like 4 or 5 tents, I mean like 100 tents. And I don't know how those people were able to navigate just in everyday life. I come here and I see, yes, it's a little bit more visible, but it's nothing what I'm compared to what I'm used to seeing. And I used to view homelessness as more of a personal choice in terms of, well, I don't feel like getting a job. I don't feel like I want to do anything other than what I'm doing right here. And as I've become more adapted to this community, I see my viewpoint shifting. When Molding Hearts came to town and went to the city planning council meeting, I attended, and I was and I'm still very, I won't say against them, but I'm very wary of what that organization is trying to provide to the homeless. And that's because of a couple of simple words that they put at the beginning of their original, for lack of a better word, manifest destiny, which was within 24 to 72 hours after receiving money from the city, they were gonna round up all the homelessness and transport them out of the city.
What were they saying about it?
It's not solid.
It's always
Solution.
I know from experience, they took up on notice.
Like San Francisco.
So the one where Bristol, where that area.
Oh, okay.
They talk a lot of people walk up there and sleep there. And then they wander back, basically, they went back there, or they take back down to their.
And in my viewpoint, there was, back in the 30s, there was another group of people just based on their religion were persecuted against. And 6 million of them were exterminated. So immediately that and a couple other things that I saw in that manifest destiny has set me against them, just because if somebody wants to be homeless, that's their personal choice. Now, whether they have a mental illness, whether it's a homeless vet who's dealing with his or her personal troubles, if we can provide them mental support, I'm all for it. But you can't force somebody to live in, an 8x10 room and say, okay, this is mine. If they want to be out in the desert someplace and they're not hurting the rest of society, who are we to judge it?
The judgment is societal, so until society reckon with what it takes to be free, and if you really want to help individuals to be free, you have to account for their mental state, how their what their concerns are, how you want to give care to them, because not everybody fits into society's template. It's there, but only those that get trained or give in to or surrender to the change of a template or out of fit, they can get around, you know, but those who don't have that capacity to do that, you have to account. Because, you know, other than that, they becomes waste. So there's a lot of accounting has to do with the mental state that really encourages homelessness.
I know when I went to the city council meeting, there, I was introduced to a lady that she wanted to be homeless, not. She was, her homelessness was a direct response because she wanted to be near her kids. And if she was pulled out and sent, I don't care if it's Yucca, was sent to Yucca or Joshua Tree, that's taken her away from her kids. And her kids all had homes. I didn't really want to pry into her personal life and ask, well, why aren't you with one of your kids? It's none of my business. But that was, she wanted to stay here because of close proximity to her family.
Yeah,
Mr.
that
Chairman?
dynamics is really something to really get into, and it's not about a study. It's allowance where you have to give human beings a way to make choices that doesn't call for them to sign up and eliminate their freedoms. You know, they still have to have the freedom of choice, no matter how mentally ill they are. They still have that freeness and that sense, and they know when they're being corralled or not being given an ounce of freedom. I don't care how crazy they are. They're on that point at all times. So until we start to address the allowances for the mental state of the individual and really be concerned and give a care, we're not going to solve it. Money's not going to solve it because there's a lot of money in the society, a lot of land in society. There's a lot of spaces, built spaces. And the people, they put them in there and they don't stay because they don't want to be contained between walls. And see, that's another state of mind. See, so those things are not going to help. It's a concern for the well-being of your fellow human being and trying to make allowances for. That's why in the old days, like the certain level of the population that would go to the mountains and live in mountains, and the freeness of the mountains are not so free anymore because they're encumbered by fencing and land ownership and all that stuff. They can't be on federal land, they can't be on state lands, that's all that cut down on how population can disperse and live freely, you know. That's why with the Native Americans, they didn't have a problem with mental illness. It's something that they made a part of their society. And if there's an illness mental wise, and they let them alone so they can go off and live, you know, and allow them to be free in the wilderness. But the society of the natives was such that you can live in the wilderness. You have the resource, you have the training or the built-in observation of how to live and the shared so they can go off and live by themselves and build their own habitat.
Mr. Terrence, would you like to close out this question?
Oh, yeah, this one is layered for me. You know, I think that I mean, I'll just start with my poetic. I always say that the desert is full of deserters and those that have been deserted. And so if we then consider this community of people that have sort of found themselves here, some of the attributes that I think, I've heard some of these keywords, we all appreciate our freedom, our space, the self-autonomy. But we also like to be, nobody wants to be alone, right? And I think when we then look at the dichotomy of like LA or New York, where you'll be surrounded by people and completely feel alone, you know what I'm saying? And I sort of wonder like people, and I'm mindful of language, homeless versus unhoused, for example, but the people that choose to be unhoused here, it's like, why here? This is like one of the most unforgiving places to not have for, you know what I'm saying? And, for whatever reason, the environment offers a direct reflection perhaps of what's going on internally, right? And so I'm always, just in my own personal journey with like weight loss and all that sort of stuff, is that you kind of have to feel home inside, and then there's layers, right? Once you feel a home in your head and in your body, perhaps you then feel safer in an apartment, in a room, and that then expands to a house, a neighborhood, a city, a community, right? And we all have different levels of, I think Bernard talked about the society, just using my word of the culture here in 2025. I think the pressures of American culture and how that then is intertwined with the human condition. We say that we live in a country that, loves freedom, but then when you then go against the cookie cutter mold of what freedom has meant, which, for a long time was a 3-bedroom house, 2 cars, a white picket fence, a job, you know what I'm saying? I'm encouraged by a lot of millennials today. I see a lot of them living out of their van and getting in the RV. And, I've actually seen some people live on BLM land and they camp with the horses and do all that sort of stuff. Now, and I also really appreciate Bernard's point about in a lot of ancient civilizations, indigenous communities, I mean, crazy people were part of the culture. They were welcome. That was crazy Uncle Jerry. You know what I'm saying? He's out there like doing his thing, and we bring him food and check on him when we got to check on him. But he's living on the mountaintop, and he's not hurting nobody. I think the additional pressures, though, of how the system drives madness in all of us individually in some different ways, based off of the inability to conform. And I think some of that then is like in the self-medicating and, some of the pharmaceuticals that then are, and some of these, in my opinion, have been used as crutches for what is a spiritual, consciousness. And I didn't even, we talk about like witch doctors and shamans that were then responsible for using the plant medicines and the different ceremonies that, were part of everyone's sort of journey and welcoming into the tribe, right? Like in order to be a man or a woman in the tribe, you had to show that you had achieved certain benchmarks or whatever, right? And that then helped you to sort of figure out your role within everything. And so, I mean, this is a deeply complex issue, that I don't know if there is a solution. I don't know what it is. Yeah, and so like that's it. There's no reconciliation. It's complicated.
Yeah. I want to pick up with something that Don mentioned about aloneness and loneliness. That's something that I don't think we kind of examine often enough. Is loneliness a condition, or is it a condition of society or a condition of culture, or is it a natural state of being? See, we're not accustomed to accept being alone as a natural sense of being. Whereas a lot of the homeless people that I've run across, and I've been on Venice Beach for 3 months, homeless in the early 70s. what I found out was that it was the aloneness was not a consideration. It was welcome. It was part of being free to be alone. But that means that mentally you have to be able to handle being alone. You have to be able to exercise those fleeting moments of consciousness versus subconscious, you know, and that's something you can become accustomed to. But if your life is built on having a support system that doesn't allow you the aloneness or to experience it long enough to be accustomed to it, then there's always going to be that sense being driven that I have to have company. I have to be here. I have to have somebody around me. So I think that's a key part of the whole homelessness situation, that how difference of aloneness and being alone is being handled and how it's confronted in another individual, because it's a condition we all experience differently, but it is the underlying difference that drives us.
They're saying one of the things I hear about in pop culture, but there's a growing friendless epidemic. You know, a lot of people don't know how to like make friends anymore. And then, you know, we talk about the Eastern consciousness. So I like to, if we're looking at like, you know, Western Europe, United States, you know, I like to start to think about it from the other side. And I know in Japan, they have like a really difficult time with marriage and, you know, staying, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not having kids anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like they're having an aging population. And I sort of wonder, why do we have such a hard time connecting anymore? You know what I'm saying? And I do appreciate, you know, this concept of being alone, you know, versus feeling lonely. Because there are people that are married and in partnerships with people and they feel alone. You know what I'm saying? What's that like? Or to have friends and to feel invisible in a room, for example. You know, that happens all the time.
And feeling alone is a condition that's invoked on the individual.
Mm.
They don't feel alone until they're told that they're alone.
I deeply resonate with this. I'm going to enter the trigger warning here for those of you who are watching at home, who are again facing homelessness, unhoused situations. The main thing that I would say about again tasting this and touching this myself was making sure that I did not adopt a spirit of hopelessness while I was going through homelessness. I read a great book while I was going through that journey called Learned Optimism. And I really had to rewrite the narrative for myself. And it did feel like a very lonely journey at that time, but it is also what brought me to this point, which is being very deeply connected to the etheric realm, the spiritual realm, in touch, where you're in a position to be able to see and receive miracles, because you really do feel like it's just you. So whatever comes to you is just because of who you are. I'm very grateful that we've decided to touch on this topic and to look at it from a place and a space of not only compassion, but also intelligence, and the fact that we have wisdom because we've overcome it, and how we will take this and how we'll be able to share this moving forward, because it's a heavy energy and it's very complex. There's layers to it. There's the hopelessness, there's the loneliness, there's the actual physical being unhoused. So we are going to release this energy, and we're going to go in for one final question so that you all can get back to your days today. We're going to stand. I would invite you to stand. You don't have to stand. We're going to touch back for one final question. We're going to kind of go straight into it. I'm going to get to the air, turn that off, we'll type in on one final question, and then moving forward again, we'll sit down and we'll see even in your own notebooks, if you have questions, write them down, and let's talk about bringing these things to the table. Let's see how we can do that. Mr. Terrence, I'm going to invite you to clear out this energy, utilizing the Palo Santo.
Okay.
I would invite you to do that. We're gonna stand, we're gonna turn the air off, and we're gonna have one final question, and then we're gonna do a group photo. And yeah, it'll be good. So let's just breathe. That's true. Truth right there. Right here. Yeah, I would like to clear this, and it's a very heavy energy, so I would like to just, it's very personal too for a lot of us, so. Yeah, so let's clear that energy out. Are you, okay, so we just, you don't be a human again. Spaceship. Spaceship. Wow. You always are.
It was more in first.
Okay, so if we're all ready, if we're all stretched out. Okay, we'll in.
It's just ancestry.
Oh, yeah.
We could be for 20 years and we want for the next 20 years. We can meet and we can talk. Wow. Okay, we might vote on this question. Okay. You know what? I think I might go on an individual. Okay. Are you done clearing out? Okay, you said the clearing out.
Oh, keep talking, yeah.
Okay, as a collective. So once you clear, we're gonna do some individual questions. So I will move as guided by the spirit to ask these questions. If the question does not resonate with you, feel free to say, I'm not at liberty to discuss that or to disclose that in a public manner or in a private setting. Okay.
Wait, so we're voting on the question and then
No,
we're gonna.
what?
She changed her mind.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna vote, we were all gonna answer another community question, but there's a lot, and these were uploaded like this morning, this is rising from the rising sun. So I will put this information out and we'll just see what to do, because again, so I'll let you finish that. I'm gonna do this voiceover for me when I edit this video. For those of you all who are watching this at home, each individual that you see sit at this table will be someone whose story you are able to be a part of. What you are witnessing is a collective group of not only leaders, but also creators and human beings who move from a place and a space of consciousness. As we align ourselves preparing for the new year, going into 2025, and we resonate with people who align with our stories and with our truths, we will ensure, we vow to bring stories and to bring conversations that will advance the collective of humanity for the betterment of all, not just those at the top. Okay. That's my disclaimer in there. Okay. When Mr. Terrence gets back, I think we'll actually start here because he'll come in as a moderator. So, I would like to start. I think we started with Miss Leak this time, so we're actually going to start right in the middle with Mr. Bernard. And then we're going to fan it out. Here. Mr. Bernard, how do you reward yourself?
Piece of my directive to myself. I really think about that. Vera had to give me a direction, what you wanna do this, but, I'm driven to create. So, I guess that's part of what I give myself, the space and time to create.
That is your report.
Yeah, and it's been my drive for so long, it's kind of innate. I've lived with it. I'm happy when I have time and energy and
What is it?
space.
I like that. That helps us see you a lot more clearly. We were gonna piggyback off of that, so we're gonna, I'm just gonna shoot around the table, okay? And we kind of touched on this a little bit, Terrence. So can you put the sun?
Close
in
it,
the
yeah.
thing?
Oh, the blinds.
Yeah, I got it.
Shift it out a little
This
bit.
one, shoot. Oh, you.
You got it, thank you.
Can do it. Thank you.
Miss Dawn, we're gonna put it right in your court then, okay?
Oh, did he get a question? I was too
He
blind to
did,
see.
yes. He spoke on how he rewards himself. Would you like to just reiterate that? Because we did have a little bit of commotion going on in the background. So will you just reaffirm that?
It's now something I consider too often, very. My major rewards is time and space and energy to create, because it provides so much other stuff. It brings so much other stuff that I don't feel that I need to focus on any specific needs. But I vibe on that. Make sense?
It does. Miss Dawn, do you feel valued in the community?
No,
Would you like to elaborate?
too much. It'd be too much. This will be like a 2-day conversation.
We shall revisit, we shall revisit.
Definitely have to,
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you don't need any drinks or smokes.
I'm free fall for that.
Miss Chris, what is a positive prayer, a mantra, or an affirmation that has helped you improve this year?
I don't have any one affirmation that, probably should have one. But there's just so many different moving parts in my life. So I have different affirmations. That something that I'll read in a book, something that I'll come across, something that resonated with me in a conversation. Just getting in that area, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying it could be something as simple as, I'm gonna make it through this day today.
Hey,
So, not just one thing. Yeah.
Receive your vulnerability. You can receive. Mr. Daniel.
Yes.
Mr. Daniel. Where do you go to reach for peace or joy?
That's a good one.
that was a great question.
Honestly, I'm gonna say within myself, because I don't put my peace and happiness and joy on anybody but myself.
Okay.
So if it's times where I gotta disassociate, which I do a lot with people, I sit there and I get lost in my own mind to where I gotta reach a moment of mental silence, stillness, to get that joy and peace within myself.
Bernard calls it, you gotta sequester yourself.
Because I mean, even though like you can be a person who does nothing all day, mentally you're still active. And you gotta find a way to instill like quiet your mind and find peace within your mind. So for me, that's what it is for myself. Just finding mental peace and joy. That's mine comes from.
Reaching for it internally. I love that. Okay, Miss Vera. I got a couple questions. What is something you accomplished in private that you are proud of?
Oh, that's a good question
That's
for
a
you.
good
Is that your question?
Oh, that's her question.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Gonna be yours.
That would be something alone.
In private, so that's not necessarily alone, this is a private setting, but it will evolve to a public, so.
Just can't think of anything. I'm pretty critical of myself, yeah. It's really nothing that stands out that I did.
Can I be here in this private moment with you to say that you showed up? And that's something that you should be really proud of. That's something that you've done in private to where no one may ever know that you sat at this table, that you showed up, that you stood up. Well, thank you for having us in this moment and your experience. On this day could have been anyone, did not have to be here. Nobody was forced to be here. For those of you watching at home, there's no bribery on the table. These are all free human beings. I'm all about free the people.
Lavera makes great costumes or has made great costumes in the past.
In private, no, I had a team.
Yeah, even the concept?
Well, that I got that from him. I just duplicated what he had that could work for dancers that were all different sizes. You can't have a dress, you have to have a top and a bottom. And then I just think of how the clothes move.
See, I can't think like that.
So you brought
In
his
private.
image out into life, that's what it sounds like.
No, I just put the clothes on the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was
but you-
based on
His
his.
idea, but you brought it out that you're a spade.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
made it real.
Yeah.
Concrete versus abstract. Yeah.
Don't you guys see? She's admitted it. She criticizes herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm mad, it's okay, but we're like, but wait a second.
Chopping y'all down.
Yeah.
But now we get to be
Well,
here,
it's
though.
good that you don't let her slide. Because I don't let her slide.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'm not, no. No, but, in the sense that she's talking about, it was a collaborative effort. And everybody was working towards one goal was to develop a performance based on my art. So we collaborated with dancers, drummers, and singers, pantomime actors and actresses.
Dancers and dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically.
No one person.
She created the costume, she made the costume come to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like.
Or the dresses.
Right, so that they could be the best.
So they can wear it on stage without it falling apart.
Right. Yeah, and it would make them look really sexy.
Yeah.
Mrs. Jackie. Do you believe everyone will rise to the occasion to embody the highest version of themselves?
I don't think so. Sometimes, maybe.
Okay. Sometimes. I'm
I
agree
agree.
with this.
I agree.
We can dive deep in there.
Sometimes you have to drag and kicking and screaming.
Well, Tyler Perry said that sometimes you want to take people up to the mountaintop with you, but if they're
Kick them off.
well, if their body's not acclimated to the thinner air, they can't breathe. You know what I'm saying? If they don't want to be the best version of themselves, you could be killing somebody if they're not ready to come on. You know?
Miss Leek,
Yes.
what is one of your favorite creations that you manifested into this physical realm?
You said musical?
That you've manifested.
Magical.
What is one of your favorite creations that you've manifested into this physical realm? You thought about it, and it's your favorite that you did this year.
I actually did a few. I did a lot of stuff. I would say there's a lot of concepts and ideas that I kind of fell on a lot, especially because there's a time frame I have to finish. And then like I usually be hard and I'll just like scrap it. But it was a few times I had to just push it through. And so I ended up making a couple of like big paintings that I want to showcase for next year once I get the series completed. But because I realized it's a series after I did the second one, I was like, oh, there's something happening. And so yeah, and so I'm, I guess, completing something. Like I'm always at completion now, which I've really like. I'll complete something and then there'll be a bunch of them uncompleted. It's just been completion.
You're doing
completion,
artwork
completion.
though, you're pulling that out of you and you're getting the physical, the creation from you. It's wonderful.
Yeah, so I wanted to yeah, so my latest creation was this sweater, so yeah.
Oh, I've been checking that out.
Yeah.
Watching that whole, we will definitely insert photos in right here, okay? We're doing what we do, okay? Wow, it's so crazy that question came to you, because I couldn't have known that. So, Mr. Diamond, okay? Here's a question for you. Let's see here.
Yes, I believe they're on their way there.
Okay, here we go. What are your thoughts on interdimensional exploration and relationship cultivation?
Woo. Hey, one more time for those of you.
Those people are watching at home and also from other galaxies. What are your thoughts on interdimensional exploration and relationship cultivation? What does that look like for you? What are your thoughts on that?
Are you asking me, is there other dimensions other than our
Or
own?
how do you feel about cultivating that relationship? Like, would you be, if you were contacted on a personal level, would you be in a space to where you felt like you felt safe to cultivate a relationship?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
And
you're open to explore.
I do believe that there is a multiverse. I do believe that we're not alone in the universe.
Aliens
Now,
at home? Just kidding.
Now, I might not run straight to the mothership when it lands, but I would be very interested in communicating or interacting with something other than a human being or life on this planet.
It's a groundbreaking moment, and some of these things, they sound so just like this is just a completely, crazy, which we now know crazy. For those of you at home, if you've been called crazy, it means extremely enthusiastic. And if there is a spaceship in my backyard, I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to be extremely enthusiastic, and I'm going to tell somebody about it.
But my only issue with that is, I believe in what Stephen Hawkins, his viewpoint. Every time there's been a superior culture interact with what they consider an inferior culture, the inferior culture has always suffered. Just look at what's happening in quote unquote the New World, South America, Central America, North America. Every time somebody comes in, well, I'm super technologically superior to you, you must bow down to me and do what I want.
Extermination of the race. The extermination of the race. We have a long history as human beings of being the perpetrators. So we must be mindful that energy does have to go somewhere. Our ancestors, not all of our ancestors, but it's in our records, okay, that we have a tendency to come up against those things which we do not understand and the things that don't align with us. So even going back to our topic, trigger moment here of homelessness, being unhoused, that these things that don't fit into our perception of what life should be and how things should go and how our world should be, we must hold space for those things. We're advised to hold space for those things because the fire is being turned up. We're going to end off this here with a question for you, Mr. Terrence.
Well, I got a question for you after.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. How can we come together to create safe head spaces and heart spaces to help those around us who perhaps are suffering in silence? So I'm gonna say that again. How can we come together to create safe head spaces and heart spaces to help those around us who may be suffering in silence?
My first recommendation, I would just encourage everybody to study chakras, so understand your head, your heart, your gut, your lower chakra, your throat chakra, and how that all works together. My next recommendation is know thyself. My acronym for you to know you, who you are, is YOU. Who are YOU? Your own understanding. And as you get better at defining and redefining your own understanding, and you get better at turning your internal feeling to external emotions, expression, you can then, I mean, language is powerful. You can communicate with others, and it could be a book, a conversation, it could be a painting, whatever, right? But that level of expression of how you are feeling internally then provides an opportunity for other people to offer feedback and to then start raising their hands or lowering them as it relates to, you know, who you can find yourself to be free in community with. So for Anne Marie, all right. My question for you is, if life were a book, what would be the last word of the last page of the last chapter in the book of Anna Marie?
Death. Aha.
Aha.
Yeah. A new breath, a new inhale, a new exhale, going into a new realm of, you know, I'm always in my, I love to exercise and I love to get super turned up. And at the end, they shall know she left on an exhale. And it's not done. So it will be, however they would write it.
I can be a mantra right here. She left on an exhale. You know what I'm saying?
The ancestor, the one they prophesied about, she is here.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So you all, for those of you who are watching at home, this has been a wonderful cultural community conversation, which is live at 29 Palms at Black Cactus. We have had the opportunity to create an intervision with 9, okay, you all, we didn't even know the table would be this large. Look at the symbolism that we have here at this table. We are going into the year 9, okay? I am excluding myself from the table because I have been instructed to sit outside of the table. But the number of 9, we're going into a year of 9, which is endings. And we are ending cycles, we are ending negative thought patterns, we are ending things that no longer serve our highest self. And the only ways to know what is not serving your highest self is to know thyself. We're very much so in this energy. It has been extremely life-changing before even all the unfolding has been done, to sit in this environment with these remarkable leaders, these remarkable creators, and these conscious human beings who are not only on this planet, but they are shining their light and are also open to receive inspiration from above and also from without and within. So join us here on this journey. This will continue to unfold. Each individual seated at this table, if there's someone at this table who truly resonates with where you are in your journey and with your story, and you would like to know more about them, the names of the individuals who participated in this experience will be listed in the comments, as well as their contact information and more information about how to book this space, Black Cactus, which again is located in the Mojave Desert in the city of 29 Palms, California. We have here with us some outstanding leaders, and we are all now going to leave this space and give thanks not only to our spiritual team, but to the physical people who have chosen to be here. So we release this moment. Very, very grateful for you all. Again, we do not know what this will be. We're just here in it, and we just chose to be a part of it. But moving forward, when people are really, I want to sit down. I want to hear how humans live. Why did they do this? Or why didn't they figure that out? Why didn't they come together in this way? Because we do have so much freedom. So why are we not doing the things that we say that we know we have the power to do? So, very, very grateful for all of the energy that you all have poured into this experience, being here, showing up not only for yourselves, but showing up for our community, that we're still calling for this and we're still hopeful for it. And we still believe that as human beings, all hope is not lost. We are not hopeless. And again, to those of you who are watching this at home, if you are facing a situation where you feel hopeless,
please understand, you are not alone in this. Even on the loneliest roads, you are connected. We are all connected. We are not logging off. This is Portal CC XXII, and we stand to be a conduit for change and opportunity in our community. Okay, we are summarizing. And we're gonna get some pictures, if that's okay with everybody. We're gonna get pictures